All right, Cindy, let's do this. We were doing, everyone that's listening right now, Cindy and I were already starting to talk about stuff that I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I hit the record button? So now I've done it right now, and I'm just going to kind of catch you up a little bit about why Cindy and why right now. So, Cindy Warren, specifically, she has Blue Tree Coaching, and she works with people that are getting brave enough or want to become brave enough to start their own side gig or side hustle, however you want to say it, and give them a structure and support and coaching to make the transition. Here's the thing. Right now, I am hearing from people that I talk with, especially in technology, pre-sales, sales, customer support. Like there's been a lot of layoffs. There's been a lot of reorgs. There's a lot of anxiety around, is my job secure right now that maybe I thought was secure 6 months ago? Now I'm not so sure. And people are starting to think maybe that crazy idea that I had and that I've been secretly nurturing like a small bird in my hand and I don't want to crush for the last X amount of years, maybe this is the time that I need to start working on it. Even if it's part-time and I still have my job right now, maybe I should start load balancing a little bit and spending some time specifically on it and cultivating it. And that way, all of my eggs aren't in one basket. I'm using a lot of chicken metaphors right now, small birds, chickens, eggs, all kinds of things. But this is why I became aware of Cindy through another high-level coaching group that we're in, and started to see about her podcast and started to see about what she did specifically. And I was like, this is perfect. So Cindy's the kind of person that specifically works with people. And as well, a lot of the people that listen to my podcast, Cindy, I know that I've already told you this, are already high performers in the space they work in. And we'll talk about golden handcuffs a little bit later on, but they are achievers, they're doers. And so there can be a little bit of a thing at the back of their mind that they need to give everything to the current job that they're in, and that they don't leave enough time for themselves or permission for themselves to have a side gig or a side hustle, or how would they even make it work? Anyway, I want to stop talking because I want them to hear more from you. So, Cindy, I gave a little bit of an intro for you there, but could you properly introduce yourself to everyone, who you are, why you started to do this? I'm guessing I know that you were in a similar situation before you decided to redefine your own story. Take us on a little bit of that journey. How did you get to doing what you're doing right now?
Well, thank you so much, Aaron. And it's just so fun to be here with you. So yeah, I have spent decades of side hustling. Now, I went to Stanford Law School and worked the very traditional law firm path for many years. I always had a little something cooking on the side. I mean, for years it was teaching step aerobics. I know I'm dating myself.
That's all right. I'm picturing the amazing leg warmers right now.
Oh yeah. Spandex and leg warmers. And when I became a mom, law firm life was less sustainable. And I decided to dip my toes into consulting work. So I stepped off the traditional legal path, started doing a little bit of human resources consulting, which was very easy to do, coming from my background as an employment litigator, and really started that as a side hustle, turned into a full-time, multiple six-figure business, and really loved it. And then continued to find side hustles. I became a yoga teacher, and then I had a book published about yoga, and took on more and more things on the side, and eventually dipped my toes into the coaching world, which you probably won't be surprised to learn I started as a side hustle. And let me also just say, I like to call them side gigs because I do think there's a way to start them, grow them, have them turn into whatever you want without the hustle and without being necessarily part of burnout and grind culture, something I'm familiar with as a lawyer.
Yes. That whole hustle grind culture, that really is at the forefront of people's minds too. It's just like, I don't want to start something else that burns me out more than I am right now. Side gig is a better way to think about that, because I think that what you'll speak to as well is there is a way to do it where you're not adding more to where you might already be feeling burnout.
That's absolutely right. And I think that's really important in today's world. So I really think there are so many ways to think of side gigs, side hustles. And for me, coaching started out as another fun passion project, and now this is my full-time jam. I feel like it's my purpose, and this is, what I do in a full-time capacity. So I'm very passionate about helping people discern whether they want to start a service-based side hustle. And by service-based, I mean something like consulting or coaching or teaching or training,
Mm.
and then bringing it to life in a way that feels luscious and abundant and fun and exciting and intellectually stimulating and financially rewarding. So that's what I
Oh, I
do.
like all of those things.
Good list.
instead
Good
of
list there.
instead of from a feeling of, because I think, and we might have touched on this as when we had our previous conversation as well, is that there can be a bit of a leftover for that old school mentality, especially if you're working in a corporate environment, that somehow if anyone finds out, and if anyone's watching my video of this right now, I'm using
Mm,
huge fat air quotes. If anyone finds out on LinkedIn or anywhere else that I indicate that I'm not just 100% only doing work for my full-time role, whatever I'm doing, that someone will find out and I'll get fired, or that that's not allowed. You're not supposed to do that. You're somehow being naughty. And some of that's gone away with the startup culture, especially if you are in tech. Like, it's kind of assumed that, of course, you have a side hustle or you have an idea you want to nurture at some point. But in a lot of other industries, I feel like there's still maybe some of those leftovers, that fear in people's brains. Do you find that when you start working with people sometimes?
I do. And what I like to direct people to do is like, okay, let's take the guesswork out of it and let's just check what does the handbook say? What does the conflict of interest policy say? And almost, almost in every case I can think of, Aaron, it's really not a problem. And today's
Yeah.
employer is becoming savvy enough to know, yeah, it's the era of solopreneurship and the side hustle. And there's actually a lot of value in allowing your top performers the freedom to go create something for themselves that
Yes.
serves a passion or
Yes.
sharpens other skills.
That's so true. And I've had this conversation with other entrepreneurs as well, is that uh, when they are nurturing or building something, that if it's couched correctly, it really is, they're building a smaller brand that a lot of times ties in with their personal brand and then is visible in their work. If they are working with a larger brand, like a regular full-time job, like
Yeah,
there's value in them becoming an expert in something and being visible. And then that kind of lends credibility to the larger brand they're already working for. It can be a net positive for them. Um,
absolutely.
but again, it's just about the messaging and the way you look at it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's really important to think about it, what you're doing in a way that can be symbiotic with your larger
Mm,
role. Yeah.
perfect word, symbiotic. Yeah, you can help the larger brand while you are attached with them. Maybe that's for a
Right.
long time. Maybe you're hoping that eventually you will part ways, which is also fine, but that it doesn't have to be an either or a competition, or from a sense of scarcity that you're going to get
Right.
found out. You got to keep it quiet. It can only grow so big. Otherwise I'll get in trouble. Um,
Yeah. Yep. Almost all the time, that's not the case at all. And it can be
mhm.
really fun and empowering for
Yeah,
all parties involved to watch a top performer go launch something new.
that's fantastic. So when you see people start to work with you, what are some of the common trends you see as far as they're starting to maybe consider this mindset that they want to grow their side gig? Where are they at when they first start working with you a lot? Are there some commonalities you've noticed?
Absolutely. Especially when I'm working with, the people who make up your audience, Aaron, who are
Hmm.
high achievers, high performers, used to being masters of their craft. There is definitely a fear and an
Uh-huh.
insecurity around stepping into something new and being a beginner again.
Oh my
And not
gosh, you so hit
everyone,
me
did
right
I?
between the eyes, because we hate sucking at things at first, right? We got really
Yes.
good at something, and now we have to suck at something for a while until we're good at it.
Yes, exactly. That can be a hard sell
Yeah.
and a beautiful opportunity for growth.
Yes. Yes.
So I do find that quite a lot. And the truth is you don't actually have to suck for as long as you think or as badly as you think you will.
That's our
There are a
pull
lot of
quote right there.
hacks.
You don't have to suck as long as you think you have to. Cindy Warren.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. There's a line out the door already. Um, yeah, it's in many ways starting your own business is much simpler than you think it is. And in other ways, there are probably some things that, unless you're working with someone who's been on the entrepreneurial journey and the legal background helps as well, you might not think of. So I
So
make sure
true.
my clients have the legal foundations in place and the right contracts and all the T's
Oh, that's
crossed and
perfect.
and I's dotted. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice that you are using, and that's such a great example as well, is that you're not starting from scratch every single time that you start a side gig or you decide to redefine your story of who you are. You are bringing the best stuff and the stuff you learned, whether you were an amazing lawyer for part of your story or a yoga instructor or doing whatever you're doing, like becoming a coach, you're bringing all of the best parts of those elements to the new side gig you're developing. And that can be
Exactly.
such a wonderful, beautiful thing. It's an evolution. It's not a stop and compartmentalize, and I can't bring all these things with me to help me as I grow. That's great
That
that you
is,
are. Yeah. I mean, if
yeah,
someone's working with you on side gig, one of the first things that a lot of new entrepreneurs freak out about, and I've definitely been guilty of this as well, is like, well, do I need to have any specific like contracts or non disclaimers in place? Do I need a trademark right away? Do I not need one?
yeah,
Like, do I
yeah.
need to have boilerplate templates for people to sign? Do I not? Like,
Mhm.
so that's great that they can
Yeah.
actually get some of that knowledge from you right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond that, to your point of people are bringing their whole selves to their side gigs, their new entrepreneurial ventures, it's really fun to help look at the whole person 360 degrees, what they're doing now, what their skills are, what their passions are, to help them really craft their value proposition and their offer.
Mm-hmm. So let's say I want to direct this back toward to make sure I'm not doing too much inside baseball with two entrepreneurs bouncing back and forth. Let's say there's
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of these people listening right now, and they are at a awesome technology company, let's say, and they're a high performer. They have a little bit of what we lovingly refer to as the golden handcuffs of
Hmm.
the good paycheck, good benefits package, things like that. They have an idea for a side hustle that they want to do. They don't want to leave their full-time job right now
Hmm.
unless because of what's happening in the economy, something happens. And what's what's the first thing that that person should think of doing to start to at least get themselves ready to talk to someone like you? Like, what
Yeah.
kinds of things should they be gathering, thinking about, coming to the table with to have the best chance of developing a viable side gig?
Well, I think it's really important that they start to develop clarity on what's the business idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be it can be hard for people to nail down exactly what it is. Oh, I consult on, you know, whatever. Okay, but how are you going to work with people? What's it going to look like? What's the price point? What's the package? All those things to just start to consider, okay, how do my skills meet another person's or the marketplace's needs? So how do skills meet need is a really great question to start to answer. Another thing is like, what do I want to do? I think
Mm-hmm.
desire can be a really nice indicator of where you might be drawn to start a side hustle.
That's so true. And I know I made a mistake, especially earlier on in my entrepreneurial journey, where I realized halfway through like developing a new program or something like that, that I was recreating something I didn't like. That that part of our journey of like wanting to recreate our story is like sometimes you might be feeling like I want to become an entrepreneur and do this in consulting or whatever because I don't like this corporate structure that I'm in right now. I don't like the way that it works, but it's what we know, and our
Yeah.
sneaky brains will sometimes, under the radar without us noticing it, start to recreate an, basically a shadow of what we're
Yeah.
trying to escape from as far as structure. So I love that you were pointing out right there that like, what do you want to do? Like, how will this be more fun for you?
I think
How
that's the
will
word,
this
Aaron.
bring
Fun.
joy?
Yep.
Yeah.
I
And
think
so that you're
that's
not
key. And
recreating the same systems you're trying to escape from.
exactly. What would be fun? If I was going to devote 5 hours a week to something new, what would be fun? I think
Yeah.
that's a really great question to ask.
And that's a great thing for us to discuss as well is especially when you're starting out and you're going to do a side hustle, how do you wrap a boundary or a box, or is there anything that you start to work with people and you're like, okay, we're going to do X amount of time
Yeah,
on this each time or something like that to keep your own sanity, to make sure that it stays clean and there's not overlap between what you're doing, and that you can be the
absolutely.
most effective with your time. Have you found a good way to help people with that?
Yes. And I listened to the episode that aired on your podcast recently about, I forget what it was called, Aaron, but it was about planning and productivity. Do you know
Yes.
which one I'm referring to? I mean, I
Yes,
think I
yes, yes,
use a
yes, yes.
similar system as you actually. So some of it is simply, and if any of your listeners haven't listened to that one, go back a few episodes, listen to it. Some of it is making intentional decisions up front. Okay, day job hours are whatever they are. Side gig hours are like decide up front. It doesn't need to just
Hmm.
fit in between different cracks or take up all your time. And then I also think it's really important, again, going back to avoiding hustle, grind, burnout, really also plan for things that have nothing to do with either the day job or the side gig and are just for you to rest, to
Yes.
restore, to play, to be with loved ones. So I love helping people create really strong boundaries about what they're doing and when. And the truth is, I think you can start and grow a really successful side hustle in 5 hours a week.
5 hours a week, which, yeah, you can find that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And feel good about the fact that like you can make tangible process in 5 hours a week is what you've found when you're working with clients,
I
when you're
have, and
starting
I've
out.
worked with clients who have less time than that, and we work with that, and so it takes a little longer.
Hmm.
What I like
And
about the
being
side
okay with
gig
the fact.
journey, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say, and being okay with the fact that whatever time you have now is okay. It doesn't
Yes,
have to
exactly.
be, you don't have to kill yourself and all of a sudden be working 80 hours a week in order to make your
I
side
don't
hustle
recommend,
or your side gig,
no,
sorry, work.
I know, and I don't recommend it. I really, again, I'm going to age myself here, but did you ever read those choose your own adventure books when you were a
Oh
kid?
yes. You know what? You're dating someone who is of the same timeline because I use that as an
I love
example
it.
all the time.
Oh, do you really? Amazing,
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, building a side gig is like choose your own adventure.
Yep. Turn to page 49 if you want to make this choice or continue
Exactly.
reading, or go back to page 15 if you decide you want to turn left. Yeah, it's
I
fine.
feel very seen and heard right now. Yeah. So it is
In
fun
fact,
helping people discern what are the right boundaries, what's the right path for them at this point, and it can evolve and change.
yeah, it can change. You can make a choice now, and also it's not the last choice that you ever have to make in that area. Like you can adjust later on.
Yeah.
And I remember as an entrepreneur as well, when I was first starting out a side gig, that I had a lot of self judgment on like needing to make the perfect choice the first time. And if
Mm.
I wasn't like somehow through destiny making the right, like there is a specific path I'm supposed to be
Mm.
on. And if I don't choose the right turn on my choose your own adventure, if I go to the wrong page 56 instead of page 15, that like then it falls off of a cliff and then I die. And everyone
Yeah,
points and
that's
laughs at me.
right. Right, right. And that's very flawed thinking that we can
Right?
all fall into. Yes. So I think one thing that is required on this journey is to move away from black and white thinking. Let it be gray.
Mm,
Step into the
yes.
unknown a little bit. It can be a little bit
Yes.
trial and error.
Yes. It's okay for it to be gray and for you not to know exactly how it's going to turn out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a
And I work
scientist,
with
put on your lab
people
coat.
who, that's it. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Some people come onto the side gig journey thinking this has got to turn into my full time thing within 6 months or a year. And then a few months into it, they actually really change their mind and they're like, no, I love doing this in a very, very part time basis. and then the main gig stays the main gig. So we don't always know what we're going to want or how it's going to turn out. And I think there's a lot of beauty and growth that can happen to just bringing an open, curious mind to the work.
Oh, I love that. An open, curious mind and letting it be okay that maybe this will be the thing that you decide to do full time. Maybe it won't. Maybe you'll just do it for a small amount of time. Maybe you'll do it for longer. Maybe it will just spark you onto your next thing that you're going to do. And that it's
Totally.
not a failure because you don't know exactly what its final form will be when you start. It's
That's
okay.
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what your process entails. So let's say that I am a person that's coming to work with you, or I'm a listener that's listening to you right now. Like, how do you exactly work with people? How does that work?
Yeah, so I have a side gig success system that I created that really walks people through the nuts and bolts of setting up the business, getting your legal ducks in a row, creating your offer, deciding how you're going to introduce your new gig to the world, having a way to talk about it, to market it in a very organic, low pressure kind of way, and then deciding what you want to do with it as you go through the ebbs and flows of the journey. So it's a pretty simple process. It's not rocket science. And there are some specific tools and steps that I teach. And I really love tailoring it to an individual's goals as well, because not everyone wants
Mm.
the same thing.
That's true. Yeah. Just like everyone's ideas are different or their entrepreneurial journey might be different, how they're going to show up and how they're going to be coached is probably varies for you as well. Some people are going to
Yeah.
want to deep dive into the branding right away and get really excited about the colors and all the things and the website.
Yeah,
And other people maybe just want to have a Facebook page or
that's
a
right.
simple one page something, and they just want it all to be about, hey, get on the phone with me, and then we come up with a package for you and we work from there. And either of those is fine.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
It's really fun diving into the creative work. I actually have a creative director who creates logos for our clients.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
and, and,
So you have
and many
services that
don't
you
need
can
it.
help people with as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Depending
I
on what
do.
they need. That's great. And so it's more of a program where they would work with you. Is it like a package that they would work with you on, or is it like more of a membership based, or how does that work?
Well, I work with people in a couple of different ways. A lot of my aspiring and growing side giggers choose to work with me just as a one-on-one coach.
Hmm.
So we'll do a 3-month package and get them up and running and see what they need and etc. And I also have a group coaching program called Side Gig School. I just
Okay.
wrapped up a round of it. And Side Gig School is going through a little bit of a reinvention this summer.
Ooh, tell us more.
It's going to be a lifetime access program with
Okay.
all of my teachings, my side gig success system, step by step that you can do at your own pace with weekly live coaching.
Oh, so it's both. So I can kind of binge however, like kind of like
Yes,
Netflix, however I want
exactly.
with some of the library that you've built up already, but I also get live coaching. Very cool.
Yeah. From me, my team, a few guest coaches that I've tapped, it's going to be really fun. So that'll be rolling out this summer. Um, and I also, a lot of people just sort of listen to my podcast, which is called the Side Gig School Podcast, and follow along with tips there and kind of DIY it.
That's fantastic. I love knowing as well that you're really practicing what you preach. When you first started Side Gig School, it looked a certain way.
Yeah.
And now you are evolving and allowing yourself and your own entrepreneurial journey and your story about yourself and how you coach and how you give people value to change as well.
Exactly. And I happen to, at this particular moment in time, be between the two iterations, which to be totally, candid, is not the most comfortable place to be in the world. It's wonderful when you have it
Yeah.
all set and everything's humming. And this is life. So I'm leaning into the gray and knowing that it's just a part of my own growth in how I serve my clients at the highest level. And in that
Hmm.
way, I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've come away with, especially in this last year, as I work more and more with high level coaches and business owners like yourself in this industry in particular, is that we're always trying to serve our customers and our clients the best way that we can. And as their needs change, our offerings change as well. And the way that we offer things and how we show up and the platforms we use and all kinds of things with technology, it's changing very quickly. And so it's okay that there is a messy middle. There's the way that you had it all worked out and the process worked and the email fired here. And then this is when we fill the class and this is when the card opens and when it closes. And it feels so good to get to that point. And then there's going to be the new way that you want to do it to give them even more value. And there's going to be this in-between phase where your story from the hero that you had become and the mountain you had climbed now needs to go on a new adventure. And again, needs to be okay with not knowing everything again for a while, taking a little bit of an ego hit maybe to get to that next version that will serve your clients better, that will grow your business better, that will change the definition of who you are. But you don't get to do it without going through that horrible middle part.
No, exactly. And when you lean into the horrible middle, it actually isn't that bad. It's kind of fun.
It's not.
You're sort of like, oh, I thought I was at the peak. I'm back at base camp. Okay, let's go. Let's lace up the boots.
Exactly. And once you get started, like it's like so many times when we're like, oh, I don't want to do that thing. I'd rather Netflix binge. I'd rather do something else right now. Of course, that easy dopamine hit of just going and watching TV or doing something else, super easy, short-term dopamine hit right here. But if you want the long-term dopamine of like feeling like you are evolving into the next version of yourself and doing what other people don't think that they can do, that you actually have to put in that time and you have to do that thing right now that you have resistance to. But I know for myself, once I am doing it for 10 frickin' minutes, 10 minutes, all of a sudden, so much of that resistance and that fear and that all that stuff just starts to fall away, and I start to have fun. And I'm like, oh, why was I dreading this? I'm in my group.
So true. And something I use and I work with my clients to use whenever we're in that lull of, I'd rather just go peace out, watch Netflix, is come back to like, what is your why? Like, what even motivates you? Why does this matter? And I'm really dialed into the value of stepping onto the side gig journey because there is so much freedom in it. And I'm really passionate about working with people to tap into their own sense of freedom, whether it's financial or personal or whatever, professional.
Yeah. And you really are finding out a lot about yourself. You're stepping purposefully into a growth mindset.
Yes, no question.
It's wonderful. Like it will affect other areas of your life. If you do just keep it as a side gig and maintain that full-time job, doing that work, even if when you're working with Cindy and you are, let's say you decide to do it for 3 hours a week to start with, it will have an effect on your full-time job. A positive effect. I've seen it happen with our clients as well. Once they get clear on their own story and what they want to do, it gives them confidence in that other area, maybe where that energy had stagnated a little bit. All of a sudden they feel more engaged at their regular job as well. So it's interesting to see how that happens.
Yeah. It is about your self story, your self concept. So as you're learning and growing and doing new things and challenging yourself and growing your competence and your skills, like you said, your confidence grows as a result, and that shows up everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a wonderful note to end on, actually. Other than the fact that anyone who's probably listening right now is like, what's the best way to work with Cindy? What was that website? I promise we'll put it in the show notes. But Cindy, if someone wants to work with you specifically, they're like, hey, I want to kind of see what she's all about. I want to find out more. What's the best way for them to take the next step with you?
People can email me at cindy@bluetreecoaching.net. I spell my name with an S, by the way. My website, very easy to navigate, bluetreecoaching.net. Cindy Warren on LinkedIn, at Bluetree Coaching on Instagram, and my podcast, Side Gig School.
Which is a great way to get to know Cindy's vibe. Like, I'm sure a lot of you are already falling in love with her right now and kind of her energy that she brings to the table. I always get so energized when I have conversations with Cindy as well. Even when we were setting up when we were going to do this on the calendar, I came away just feeling great after having talked with her. So if you want to get more of a feel for exactly kind of this vibe and how she is to work with, do check out her podcast. It's really great. But we will definitely put all of those in the show notes as well, so it's easy for everyone to be able to find you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It's been so fun spending time with you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Cindy. Talk to you soon.